Inevitably, Prince Harry's uneagerly awaited TV series about chinless wonders horse sport polo has plunged Netflix bosses into a profound state of disappointment. Their private verdict? Dullsville. It's co-produced by Meghan, whose understanding of popular tastes seems somewhat limited. Talking of her ladyship's limitations, retaining staff has never been her strong suit either. Incredibly, amid the constant procession of rapid resignations, 19 so far and counting, yet another key employee has just deserted the sinking ship. Farewell then, Archewell's global communications chief, Ashley Hansen, who in her departing statement made it clear that she loved working for the Sussexes. Yeah, loved it so much, she quit. But back to Harry's equine TV spectacular, which insiders say is off-the-scale dreary. Tedium incarnate. You'd have thought that the dashing Duke of Sussex's royal superstardom might have livened things up. And it surely would have done, if old Ginger Nuts didn't make the bizarre decision to extract himself from the equation. Apart from the odd fleeting appearance, he's not in it. It's all about his Argentinian pal, some unknown hooray Jose called Nacho. I could have told them, just like I told you, that this production was always doomed to failure. Who cares about rich and privileged pillocks riding poor little ponies into a state of exhaustion? This cruel game of broken bones is a minority pursuit for a reason. It's immensely boring to watch. Why would it be any more interesting on TV? It isn't. But it is Harry's evident misunderstanding of his $100 million deal with the streaming giant that points to the problem. The ratings chasers at Netflix don't give a damn about polo. Still less do they give two hoots about the obscure Nacho Figueres. They want the royal guy to be front and centre, his regal presence pulling in the crowds. Instead, they're lumbered with the Nacho show. And it now seems certain that Harry and Meghan's big money contract is in its final furlong, galloping towards the finishing line. The end. Meanwhile, the peripatetic prince has been in London and South Africa for the latest of his increasingly numerous solo tours, amid reports that he has decided on a professional divorce from Meghan. In a desperate bid to restore the popularity he once enjoyed, Harry is staging more and more appearances on his own. Frankly, the less he's seen with his wife, the better for his image. Yes, the Duchess of Sussex has her fans, but even she would admit she divides the room. To some, she is toxic, a turn-off, a magnet for negative publicity. Witness her losing battle against the Hollywood Reporter as she endeavoured in vain to discredit stories that she's a bullying dictator in high heels who reduces grown men to tears. The Duchess difficult narrative is not a good look. And as everyone in showbiz knows, bad PR rubs off. Adrift in an entertainment industry he clearly can't comprehend, hapless Harry appears to have at least learnt this basic rule. Despite his many sins against the royal family, the dim Duke is an amiable enough bozo. While dismantling Meghan's carefully constructed reputation, the Hollywood Reporter's quoted sources described Harry as a very, very charming person, but also very much an enabler. In other words, he still lives by his notorious slogan, "What Meghan wants, Meghan gets." Nevertheless, could it be that the unsettled prince is now putting himself first and distancing himself from a worrisome wife who on the global stage has led him astray? Looks like he's doing that, doesn't it, Samara?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, we actually spoke about this months ago about their professional sort of business divorce that was going on when he was doing his first couple of appearances alone. But he's really gone off sort of by himself. We haven't seen them together for a while. And I'm wondering, you know, he's trying to distance himself from all that. But that takes me on to the Polo documentary, which Meghan was also involved in behind the scenes. But it turns out it's going to be the Nacho show. I'm not surprised by this. I was doing a bit of digging, a bit of research into why it might be the Nacho show.
Yeah.
It turns out that Nacho allegedly, has been paying for a lot of Harry's polo expenses, or at least this is all alleged. But,
Shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Well, he's been his key.
So he's like the
into
Keir Starmer of polo, just taking freebies, is
Well, kind of. I mean, there's also an alleged claim that there was a £70,000 fee that Harry wanted for showing up to one of Nacho's events.
Really?
Yes, that
Really?
caused a lot of different drama. So I think that, Nacho's been the one to do the odd social media post when he has to for Meghan with the dog biscuits.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of their dirty work for them. So him being front and center in this Netflix series is actually a bit of a favour, in my opinion. A favour on their part.
I like nachos. They're very tasty. Now, Simon, what about they've lost yet another member of staff. This has only been announced yesterday, in the last couple of days, that Ashley Hansen, their global communications chief, Archwell's grandiose job title, global communications chief. Anyway, she's quit. She's joined the Exodus, 19 and counting. They released this sort of gushing statement to Hello magazine, which she was going, oh, it's so wonderful.
But they have to, don't they?
I love them so much. Well, she loves them so much, she quit.
But they have to. I mean, it's the churn in Archwell does seem rather high and rather alarming. And as I've said before, I'm not here at all, and I'm not going to sit here and try and argue that she is
a great employer,
anything but a challenging employer. But I want to go back to that to the Netflix story.
She's a challenging employer.
Netflix story and the Netflix story as well, because it's interesting that everybody who said that this is a pile of tosh has been an insider, or sources inside Netflix say this is rubbish and this and that. This is such a bullshit story, and in a way that kind of
we don't know. We haven't seen it, to be fair.
Exactly, in a kind of way that makes my blood boil. We have been working, all three of us work in television. All three of us have made shows. If you make a show and you hand in episode 1 and it doesn't work, they come down on you like a ton of bricks to make you recut it. So if you've got a show on your hands, that is a dud, that is down to the commissioners at Netflix, and trying to shift all this blame onto Harry and Archwell is a pretty poor and a pretty
Simon,
rubbish
you work
show.
in television. You know that the producers are the one who, they steer the show. They are the show. Meghan was a producer. Harry was a producer.
But if you're briefing against your own show before it goes on air, that is trying to push the blame onto somebody else. You commission it, and you're overseeing it as a commissioning editor, and you're quite honestly dumping on it before it's been released. That is down to you and not down to people making the show.
What Netflix are trying to do is say, look, we did this. Given that, we get lots of leaks from inside the Netflix tent, obviously this time about the Polo series, which previously we had an insider's quote saying it's not expected to connect. In other words, that means it's a pile of shit. The same quote came out about Meghan's cooking show. Now we've got these subsequent quotes that it's a disappointment, the Polo shows. You know what this is, in my view? This is Netflix trying to sort of filter out the fact that we did this deal with these two bozos, $100 million, and they just haven't delivered. It's not our fault that this...
But it is their fault.
He's saying...
it is their fault.
But it isn't.
Well, if I'm subscribing to Netflix and they're putting on below par shows that they've commissioned and paid millions of pounds for, that is their fault.
No, Simon, they were sold a lie by Harry and Meghan. They were told that it was going to be inside stuff into their life, personal things that people actually want to watch. And now he's not even really
And if the royals have reneged on that deal, somebody at Netflix, and your insider could be a T-boy, or it could be a receptionist, or it could be somebody high up. We don't know, because brave people hide behind an insider, a source, a friend.
But these are
what we need to know is who is responsible for commissioning that. If I commission somebody to go and do the interior design of my house, I don't at the end go, every room is rubbish. I stop them after room 1 and go, I'm not enjoying this, it's not right, get off.
Yeah, but
Netflix haven't been able to do that.
Look,
shame on Netflix.
Look, these two, no, you know what's going on here. Harry's so stupid he doesn't understand that they hired him because he's royal.
Yeah.
They're not even that interested in Meghan. It's him. He's a member of the British royal family, and he doesn't get it because he's a Dumbo. And he makes this horse shit show. And by the way, I hate polo. It's very, very cruel to horses. They all break their legs. They die of exhaustion. Harry's horse Drizzle, when he was playing in Britain 10 years or so ago, died after a game. The poor little thing was so exhausted. So I hate polo anyway. But they you know, as I said in my monologue, but Netflix don't give a fuck about polo. They want Harry, and he's so stupid he doesn't get it. And I'll tell you why he didn't put himself in it, because he thinks that they want to be intrusive. They want to invade his privacy.
Listen, Netflix need to step up to the plate. If that's what they commissioned and that's what they want, they need to go and ask for it. And if they can't do that, it's not on the Duke and Duchess. It's down on them not having the stones to go, we wanted you in this, you're not in it, we're not putting it on anymore.
They hired what they thought were a glamour couple, some actress and a royal member of the royal family, and what did they get? They got an idiot who doesn't
And now they're leaking.
They got a ginger idiot and a bully.
And now they're leaking.
And now they're a ginger idiot and a bully.
And now they're leaking badly just to make
because
themselves look good.
I'll tell you why. It's because they've given up on it. They know. They've written this $100 million off, haven't they, Samara?
Yeah, they absolutely have. And I think if you say, oh, why don't they go to Meghan? Why don't they go to Harry? First of all, in America, the executives, they probably wouldn't talk to a royal like that. It's not. They also, when we look at the revolving door of staff that Archwell has, had, we can see that to deal with Meghan, she's. So I can't even use. I won't use this word, but yeah, she's a tough woman to deal with.
If you're negative executive,
what were you going to say?
If you're Netflix, wow, if you're a Netflix executive being paid millions of dollars a year, and you go, oh, I'm a bit scared to talk to Meghan. Oh, I can't talk to Harry. He's a duke.
He's made a shit series,
and Netflix have commissioned it. So get it off Netflix. Don't leak against them. Get it off Netflix.
No, because they're trying to say that Netflix is just saying
trying to save face.
It's like the breakup of a relationship. It's not us, it's them. And that's exactly what they're saying.
That's why I think it's a bullshit story.
These two idiots. And by the way, this narrative about, yes, everybody knows Harry's a bit thick, he's a bit dim, Dumbo and all that, but she's very, very smart. Well, I think that's bollocks. Absolute crap. She's thick as well.
Then it can't be that thick. They hoodwinked Netflix out of $100 million. Go the Sussexes.
That was off the back of being part of the royal family.
Mr. and Mrs. Dumb, Mr. and Mrs. Thick, and on that bombshell, we'll go to a bad ad.
It's your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, here to introduce something really special. I think you're going to love it. My new Trump watches. This isn't just any watch. It's one of the best watches made, with almost 200 grams of gold and more than 100 real diamonds. That's a lot of diamonds. I love gold. I love diamonds. We all do. Owning one puts you in a very exclusive club. I have watch number 1, and I'm going to keep it. It's mine, and that's the way I want to have it. Each watch is numbered and extremely rare, a true collector's item, and it includes a personal letter signed by me. Get your Trump watch right now. Go to gettrumpwatches.com. It's Trump time.
That's amazing. So I assume he did that after he was president.
Trump is such a liar. I bet those watches don't tell the time.
Oh, it's brand new. It's just come out.
I don't tell the time.
No,
it's just come out.
Yeah, he did that because
Great, we could get one. Excellent.
He did one a couple of weeks ago.
You're going to get one, Simon?
No, I wouldn't wear that grifting piece of shit.
Oh, here he goes. Everybody now, doctors, psychiatrists, everyone, I'm going to give you now a prime example of Trump derangement syndrome. What do you think of Donald Trump?
He's
horrible. He's horrible.
He's grifting. Horrible. That watch won't tell the time.
He's right-wing and horrible.
It won't tell the time. Yeah. Oh my God. The Jack Smith's unsealed documents this week. How brilliant. Trump is never going to be president. You two are going to owe me money.
It's absolute crap. What about the watch? You going to get the watch?
No. It won't tell
by
the
way, did it say on that excellent advert how much...
I ordered a coin.
Blimey.
Oh my word.
It's 100 grand.
Oh my word, are you okay?
100,000, limited at $100,000.
Yeah, go on.
I tell you,
Those MAGA morons have been queuing up to
I'm
get
having
them.
an idea right now. This show is going to buy one of those watches, and we're going to have a competition. And I guess who's going to announce the competition with the watch? Him. So I have here the Trump watch. You going to do that?
Never.
For 100 grand, would you do it?
Never.
We can invest 200. 100,000 for the watch, 100,000 for you to say, buy this excellent Trump watch.
I love the way that Trump always begins with, it's me, your favourite president here. Like he says...
Yeah. He is my favourite president.
He is such a...
He is my favourite president.
So childish.
Well, he's our favourite president, isn't he? Diamonds.
Come on, Samara.
Yeah, living, yeah.
It's got diamonds.
Diamonds.
Jaina. It's me to
They're
Jaina.
eating the dogs.
Time for a break.
No. What just happened? I've been cast away on a desert island. I know what I did was unwise. But it was not illegal! I refuse to work for ITV ever again. What do you mean they don't want me? This is all Holly Willoughby's fault!
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Why is it that so many politicians have so much trouble understanding that the migrant crisis matters to people? On both sides of the Atlantic, mass immigration is the burning issue of our time. In Britain, the scourge of illegal foreigners trying to force their way into the country is out of control. In America, the constant southern border invasion is a humanitarian disaster. So why do the likes of Keir Starmer, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden try to sweep this ongoing catastrophe under the carpet? There are two reasons. The first is that they are painfully aware of their own stark limitations and deep down know they lack the necessary competence to tackle the problem effectively. Even more worryingly, the second reason is that they are left-wing and labour under the dangerous delusion that letting them all in is somehow liberal and kind. In fact, laying out the welcome mat to millions is the opposite of kind. It kills people. In the past month or so, 20 migrants have drowned illegally crossing the English Channel from France. At least 200 more have been rescued from the sea as their flimsy small boats and dinghies sank. Almost 25,000 have completed the hazardous voyage so far this year, more than 10,000 of them since the general election on July the 4th, when Britain was lumbered with a new socialist leader, Free Gear Keir Starmer, who promptly scrapped the UK's only deterrent, the scheme to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, thereby making a dire situation a lot worse. Although he won't say so, he likes migrants turning up in their droves. He's a globalist who's instinctively hostile to sovereign borders. That's why chronically overcrowded Britain's population is doomed to carry on exploding at an alarming rate. Meanwhile, in the States, Donald Trump says that Biden and his bungling border czar Kamala have, and I quote, allowed 21 million illegals to pour in from all over the world. Official statistics reveal that since Sleepy Joe became president in January 2021, there have been 8 million unlawful migrant crossings of the border with Mexico. In 1 month alone, December 2023, the US Border Patrol reported that an astronomical 250,000 desperados tried to sneak into the Promised Land. Last year, while Calamity Kamala achieved the square root of damn all, 8,500 poor souls died from drowning, vehicle accidents or violence. In the 4 years when Trump was president, a comparatively modest total of 2.4 million Latinos attempted to bust through the border. Spot the difference. Right-wing administration, low numbers. Left-wing administration, high numbers. So, memo to Americans. If you want to stop the spiralling influx of undocumented aliens about whom you know nothing, vote Trump. In Britain, apart from Nigel Farage's Reform UK, we don't seem to have any political parties committed to confronting the asylum chaos that just keeps on getting worse. The useless Tories allowed it all to happen in the first place. But just as they were at long last taking steps to stop the rot, in came Lefty Starmer and his comrades to reopen the floodgates, encouraging asylum seekers with free 4-star hotel accommodation, free food, £45 a week welfare payments, free medical and dental treatment, and free lawyers to help them stay. Woohoo! Absolute madness. In Britain and America, the people care about the migrant crisis. Too many elite politicians just don't. Here's to Australia for showing us how to do it by simply announcing to all foreigners that if you arrive illegally, no ifs, no buts, you will be swiftly processed and then deported. Guaranteed. And guess what? They stopped coming. It worked, didn't it, Samara? You ought to know about this.
Yes, it bloody worked. It was called Operation Sovereign Borders, actually, which is exactly what it did. It protected the sovereignty of our country. It was the uproar at the time. I was quite young when they enacted this policy. Was
in your 50s.
Yeah, yeah. More like 5 years old. No, I'm joking. But I think it was insane.
It
was
a lot of facelifts, everybody, yeah.
When Rwanda was announced, everyone was in uproar in this country, the Rwanda policy. This was 10 times that in Australia. Oh, it's human rights violation. The human rights are going to get destroyed, blah, blah, blah. No, the human rights were actually cared about because people smugglers, crime gangs, and people drowning at sea all stopped. It stopped after about a month, okay? Yeah. Now we get zero crossings. Yeah. We have zero illegal immigration, apart from obviously those who might, come in on a fake passport or something, but we've stopped everything and the fabric of our country hasn't changed. The issue with a lot of this illegal migration is that there's literally no control of who is being let into the country. It's also obviously giving pass to all these completely illegal industries to operate. So anyone who says they're for human rights should actually be thinking about the people smugglers and the crime gangs that are operating off the back of this.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the point, Simon. The lefties say...
I'm applauding.
You're not going to agree with this, are you?
You'll be surprised to know that I agree with a lot of what Samara said. I wasn't a fan of the Rwanda policy, mainly because it was Rwanda and I thought that they should be maybe looking at a different destination or somewhere else where to process.
It was deemed completely safe.
Yes, but
anyway.
that we can
argue.
But we can argue about that.
That was the worry.
But we can argue.
In other words, what you're saying is you're not against the principle of a third-party country as a processing centre.
A third-party destination, as a processing. I believe, that what I'm against is the demonisation of other human beings to fulfil a political ideal. So we talk about 8 million people coming in under Biden, since Biden's been president in the States, but 3.5 million people die every year. So to kind of this rhetoric of we're being swamped, we're being invaded, there's not enough jobs and everything else. I think
Trump says 21 million from all over the world.
I think
official statistics, 8 million in a year across or since Biden got in 21. 8 million.
I think that's
a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, but I'm against that.
Who the fuck do they think they are?
And I think I'm against that demonisation. And again, in your monologue, you happen to say, and here they are, they're staying in 5-star hotels and everything else. Well, they're staying in places that were hotels that now have bunk beds in them. They can't use the facilities. There's no menu. And this pushing forward this idea that they're in a hotel accommodation with room service and everything else. I hate all that stuff.
They've broken the law.
Why?
But stop calling it 5-star hotels. They're not staying in Claridge's.
In Britain, why do we do this? Why do we? Oh, you just broke into our country illegally. Here's £45 a week. Here's free food for the foreseeable future. Here's free accommodation. Here's a free doctor. Here's a free dentist. Here's a free lawyer to help you say.
Listen,
that is madness.
No.
It's insane.
Other countries do not do this.
What do they get in France? They get a tent if they're lucky. No. France doesn't give them anything.
Listen, you're never going to get me to agree.
I'm not going to get me to agree with
the dehumanisation of
people. I don't want to demonise these people.
Well, you just are.
But who the think they are? Oh, we're coming into your country whether you like it or not. Go yourselves.
They may have been people who are victims
of torture.
Who are the victims. Yeah, you can do that, but they may be people who are victims of torture, victims of persecution,
victims of war,
victims
in
of
France.
Climate change that we have precipitated.
Climate change. Come on.
No.
Don't start that crap.
We think of Syria.
Victims of climate change.
Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq. And all those places that I've just mentioned, Libya, have all been bombed.
What about
all been bombed by Britain? They've all been subjected to Britain's bombs. You're going to go and bomb...
Look, 90% of them, probably 95% of them are just liars.
No.
80%.
You don't know that.
80% of them are young males. These are economic migrants. They're not escaping war.
They're not all economic.
Nearly all of them are not escaping war.
And 90%
in any case,
processed
last time I looked, there's no war and torture in France. What about in America that Donald Trump keeps pointing out? You've got 8 million people, probably 20 million people in the last 3 years have illegally come into America, and those poor Americans don't know anything about them, and they're going to be full of criminals, aren't they?
Escaping despotic regime.
What about if that? Well, you don't know.
I feel...
No, you don't know.
Neither do you.
What?
Neither, I said neither do you. You're saying...
I know. These are undocumented aliens.
If you go and look at the evidence, most crimes are not, and they just had this on I think the John Oliver show did it. Most crimes are not done by migrants.
I want to point
that
something out.
That is a massive.
John Oliver.
I want to point something out.
John Oliver, thank God he lives in America.
John,
John, if you're watching, don't come back here, you lefty bore.
Hey, I want to point something out. You keep mentioning all these, they've been bombed, all these countries, etc. Why is the onus on Britain, Australia, the United States to take these people? There are plenty of countries within their region. There are plenty of countries within their region that are stable. Do you know how many refugees Egypt has taken since the war in Gaza? 0. Yeah. Because they don't want them. Yeah. And it's really interesting because they haven't caught any flag.
They don't want to go to Egypt either.
Well, yeah,
they've seen the pyramids.
Oh,
they've had enough.
Oh, wow. I've just been in a car crash and that person doesn't want to help me and that person does. That just doesn't. That's not an argument. Just because some people won't help other people.
Why don't you put the onus on Egypt then?
I'm not putting the onus.
So what you're saying, though, Simon, is, and by the way, what you're saying is that we have to be sympathetic to these people, but what they're doing is breaking the law. The first thing they do when they arrive in our country or in America, formerly in Australia, is they break our laws because they turn up without documents, they turn up in illegal vessels, and we're supposed to go, oh, welcome, are you an asylum seeker? We should say, and America should say, we should all say, you broke our laws, off, like Australia.
Listen. At the beginning
Here's
of this,
to Australia.
At the beginning of this conversation, I was saying
Australia is more humanitarian. We haven't had people dying at sea for 10 years now.
Yes, and at the beginning of this conversation, I said I applaud a lot of what Australia has done in taking the hard decisions to get to 0 people arriving by boats. Not all of it popular. I get that and applaud that. But what you're not going to get me to do is dehumanise people, sit here and yell, they're all rapists, they're all murderers, none of them are... Yes, you did. Don't say... Don't attempt it. It's on tape.
I said
Play it back to him. Pretty much, 90%
No, you see, I didn't say that, did I? I didn't say it.
I am not going to sit here.
I said some of them
are rapists. 90 or 95% of them
I didn't say that.
You did.
I didn't. The producers just confirmed. I said 95% of them are lying.
Okay.
I think probably 99%.
You can just
they're saying
I am not.
I am
not going to do that.
I said 95% of them are lying because they say they're escaping war and torture. And by the way, in terms of the ones that come to Britain across the channel, they're escaping France. As I say, last time I looked, no war, no torture in France.
What I'm saying is,
stay in your tents.
What I'm saying is, we need to avoid what you and especially you are doing, and that is saying
that you're misquoting me to prove your point.
And they're saying ultimately dehumanising these people. That is the first step into getting these massive causing this massive division and toxicity. I have a very good friend. Go and have a look at a website called Asylum Speakers, where people have come over who have found asylum and tell their stories and what has happened to them to get here.
Actually, I've been having trouble sleeping lately.
And you know something?
How can I find that?
Changed my life.
That should cure my insomnia.
Changed my life.
The thing is, Kevin, it's actually much nicer to everyone to have stricter border policies.
When do we stop this, though? I mean, are they just going to keep on coming? I mean, in America, they've come in, 8 million of them, maybe 20 million, and some of them have ended up eating the dogs, and they're eating the cats. I mean, you don't want that, do you? Seriously.
And that's the kind of misinformation.
Yeah, nobody's disproved it.
Stupid bullshit that
nobody's disproved
people don't dehumanise people.
Eating the dogs.
Put strong,
real diamonds.
Put strong deterrents in. Try and help people. Try and treat your fellow humans like we did with the Ukrainians.
Don't give me that shit. I'm a grown-up.
Well, I agree with the Ukrainian statement. We have 1.2 million Ukrainians coming to Europe and no one complains.
Yeah, because they're white.
And
because they're escaping war.
Yeah, and some of these people are escaping war as well. 90 maybe 95% of them aren't bad people,
look,
Kevin.
Simon,
They're not bad people.
It's
This is not a skin colour issue, but you know, I'm not necessarily saying they are all bad people. But no, wait a second.
5%
and I understand that a lot of them, they think this is the way to improve their lives. It's a natural human instinct. But the first thing they do, they're way too entitled. They decide they have the right to break into our country so they can better their lives. Well, here's the deal. You well don't.
It actually really discounts legal immigrants who come to the country to make it a better place.
Like yourself.
Yes, there are so many, but also, you know, my dad was an immigrant in Australia. There are so many great stories of people who do come to make a better life in their country, but they do it legally. And you'll know that a lot of legal immigrants have a lot of problems with illegal immigrants, and that's what a lot of politicians don't understand.
My family came from Ireland to make a better life for themselves.
Yeah, we're all immigrants.
Look at me.
We're all,
We
are all immigrants.
We're all
at this
immigrants,
table,
and we sit
but-
round and we're all immigrants. So, but some of us want to pull up the ladder and some
It's
of us
not-
don't.
it's
I
not-
want to pull up the ladder. We're going to pull up the bloody ladder in Britain, for Christ's sake. We got 70 million people here. We can't let this carry on. How many are we going to let in? America, you know, 8 million, maybe 20 million.
So Kevin.
And that idiot Kamala Harris has done all about it.
Kevin, some are refugees, some are asylum seekers, and some are economic migrants.
Most are economic. Nearly all of them are economic migrants.
Work out which are which, process them quickly, put strong deterrents in, break the smuggling gangs, if need be, turn back boats as they're leaving the port so they go back to their destination.
There you got it.
Wow.
There you got it.
There we
Turn
go.
the bloody boats round.
But treat people with compassion. Don't dehumanise them, and don't sit
Well,
there going. They're eating the pets. They're eating their cats.
No, but-
and they're all
eating the dogs. I think they are eating the dogs. And this is the compassion I would treat our migrants with when they turn up. I'd arrest them and then I'd put them in prison. You just broke our laws. And now you get that message to all the migrants waiting in northern France to illegally cross the channel, that when they get here, they get arrested. And then deported, they'd stop coming. Just like in Australia, where they were told, you come here illegally, you automatically negate your claim to residence.
Well, what it would stop is them giving
Well,
what it would stop is them giving their life savings to organisations which fund terrorism and human trafficking. That's what it would stop. That's what refugees do. They.
I'll tell you what we need in this discussion: a bad ad.
Like us, China also saw their weakness. So did Putin. Then he invaded Ukraine. Hamas saw Harris' anti-Israel statements and will use it as a green light to keep murdering Israelis. And Iran thinks Harris is so incompetent, new intel shows they're trying to help Harris win the election. America doesn't need another TikTok performer. We need the strength that will protect us.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Time for a real break. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
Welcome back. Now, this is the serious bit of the show where we have a very, very austere debate about an important issue. And what I thought we'd talk about this week is but the bias of the media on both sides of the Atlantic, the liberal left-wing bias of the media, it's getting ridiculous. So we'll come on to America in a little while, which has been scandalous at times, the reporters over there, the things they've ignored. We'll talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. What a disgrace that was. But first of all, let's talk about the BBC, which is now, it's gone insane. It's gone insane. I guess I shouldn't say it's anti-Semitic, but it's certainly massively anti-Israel. It has been seen, a recent report revealed that it has broken its own impartiality rules more than 1,500 times covering the Gaza dispute. And it's just today, this morning, on the BBC, they played 40 minutes of the Ayatollah Khamenei lecturing his people about how evil Israel was. 40 minutes of the Iran's fun-loving leader. I mean, what is wrong with them? What is wrong with them? They are so biased. It is a national scandal. Three major Jewish groups last week came out, including the chief rabbi of Britain, came out to say they're calling for a judicial review, inquiry into the BBC's extraordinarily biased reporting. It's getting to be a problem, isn't it, Samara?
It really is. I was actually just bringing up, I was on Spotify to listen to Newscast, which is a BBC podcast, and it goes, Jeremy Bowen's Hamas interview. Today, Jeremy Bowen has had an interview with a senior member of Hamas. It was recorded on Tuesday. Sorry, we're now platforming senior Hamas leaders. That's today. That's just come out. Yeah. This is ridiculous.
Simon, why?
And we don't know who's watching. Impressionable people, second-generation people.
Yeah. Why won't the BBC call Hamas and Hezbollah what they are? A bunch of low-life terrorists.
I think they say that they...
No, they won't. They call Hezbollah, I think they call it a Middle Eastern fighting force or something. They call Hamas, they say, described by some as a proscribed terrorist group. The BBC refuses to call Hamas what they are, which is thuggish terrorists.
Look, I am not. I have worked for the BBC.
I have too.
You know, I've worked for the BBC. I think the BBC is a very, very precious organisation, and I think we would miss it if we didn't have it. And I understand that. And they understand that they have an incredibly difficult.
Why is it a precious organisation?
And I understand that they have an incredibly difficult job to do, because the BBC is not just BBC News. It's a collective.
Yeah, like locking up old ladies for not paying. Up old ladies for not paying their TV.
And it goes across
very precious. Very precious.
Earlier this year, I was at the House of Parliament on a committee to report on a committee that studies bias in the media against Muslims, and I also was on a board that looked at both sides, bias in the media against Jewish people and bias in the media against Muslims. And they invited a lot of news organisations.
Did they say the BBC were biased against the Muslims?
And they invited a lot of news.
That's a laugh.
They invited a lot of news organisations there to talk about it, and people from both groups are there talking about it. Obviously, the Muslim community feel that they're being that there's a massive wave of Islamophobia, and the Jewish community think there's a massive wave of anti-Semitism.
Well, they should stop calling for Sharia law then, shouldn't they?
Trying to navigate a path between that. It is so difficult from what is considered to be...
Look, that's not what we're talking about.
No, but
we're talking about...
But that's what I'm saying.
All right, yeah, well, bollocks to that. We're talking about the BBC being biased against Israel.
Yeah,
and left-wing bias.
We're talking about them...
It's admitted, the BBC admitted after its absolutely extraordinary biased coverage of the Brexit debate before the referendum, it admitted that it had crossed the line and had been prejudiced.
But also because...
Yeah, wait a second, let Samara
Well,
talk.
this is going to happen again. I think that all I keep hearing when I do tune into the BBC is, we need to get both sides of the story out. We need to hear both sides of the story. Sorry, we don't need to hear both sides when one side is a democratic nation and the other side is a terrorist government. We don't need to hear both sides. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear health statistics from Hezbollah. But that's what they're quoting.
The point is, Samara, they don't give both sides of the story. You know, their coverage of Gaza has been a disgrace. They call everybody that opposes Israel freedom fighters. They just put the bloody Ayatollah from Iran on for 40 straight minutes. Underneath it said, the strap underneath it, I'll look that up, you talk, and I'll find it.
But it is, I mean, we've got to admit that this is news, and that there's a place...
No, that's not news, that's propaganda.
The Ayatollah making that speech is news,
and
they call it propaganda.
Here's what you do.
Simon.
Here's what journalists do when some old bearded bore like the Ayatollah stands there for 40 minutes talking about the infidel and the Israeli dog and they will pay and all that. Here's what you do. This is what journalists do. You know this. You go through it. You pick out what you might call the highlights, probably the lowlights.
Yeah.
You summarise it, and you don't put 40 minutes of this old git droning on,
especially,
with his ludicrous rhetoric.
Especially when we have, cities in England every single weekend with From the River to the Sea, which means the complete obliteration of Israel. We don't just then platform on our biggest television station, the Ayatollah chanting all this.
Samara,
It's dangerous.
Can I just interrupt for a second? Okay. This is while the Ayatollah was on the BBC for 40 minutes.
You just said that.
40 minutes. This was the strapline underneath him while he's droning on. It says, Khamenei, the October the 7th attack was logical and legal.
That's what they're broadcasting.
That's what they've got. That's what they put on the screen.
I can't even what you're even
this
saying.
Is what they're saying.
When the Ayatollah was on the BBC.
Listen. It's very difficult. I saw snippets of it this morning on the breakfast, and I didn't know that it was. I find that incredibly hard to defend. But coming back to something that Samara said, we can't have representatives from non-democratic organisations being given time.
I said terrorist organisation.
Okay, but then again, who gets to say who is the terrorist and who?
Oh my God!
I think we can take it that Hamas are terrorists.
Yes.
Hezbollah are terrorists.
Yes, I'm not arguing against that. But
why is the BBC so reticent?
Let me just finish making a point, and then you can argue against that point. If we have
do it quickly.
If we have a government in Russia that has suppressed all voting so that Putin is basically a dictator, and we see his ministers being interviewed all the time, isn't that a non-democratic regime where he's killing his oppositions? Isn't he a terrorist all but in name? But nobody's calling Russia a terrorist state. So I'm saying it's very, very difficult.
No. I mean,
it is.
You could if you want. I mean, I would happily call Russia a terrorist state.
And then do we give airtime to those people? It's really difficult. I'm not qualified.
But that's not the point.
I'm not qualified to sit here and say
the point
who is
on
a
the
terrorist
table.
and who's
the
not.
point on the table is this: why won't our state broadcaster that charges us an outrageous 170 quid a year to watch his absolute crap and its biased news reporting, why won't it call those disgusting terrorists from Hamas who raped and murdered 1,400 people on October the 7th, innocent victims? Why won't it call them terrorists, what they are? Why won't it call Hezbollah, who spend their whole time firing rockets into Israel so that 80,000 people have been had to move out of their homes? Why won't it call them terrorists? Why does it say that Israel is logical and fair?
It's a quote, and it's been taken out of context. We need to report stuff fairly, and that's what they're trying to do. And
by the way,
very, very difficult.
Yeah, not reporting fairly. They're a bunch of left-wing biased. Time for a bad ad.
Frankie and Johnny Furniture is having a sale. All senior citizens get a 10% discount. Bad credit or no credit, no problem. Are you on welfare or Social Security? Are you newlyweds? No problem. Come see us.
I say, this is Frankie and Johnny's, a place that lets you have it with no problem.
I'd like to buy a bedroom set.
Do you have any credit?
No, I receive Social Security and welfare.
You have to see the special man.
Let her have it. With no problem.
I like to buy a living room set.
Do you have any credit?
No, I filed bankruptcy.
You have to see the special man.
Let her have it. With no problem.
I say, see Frankie and Johnny, easy credit man in town. For only $50 down, they can put you in a living room set, a bedroom set today. See the special man.
I got the $50.
Let her have it. With no problem.
I got it with no problem.
I have no words. But what I can say, by the way, that lady, did you have to get your hair like that?
Yeah, I could do next week.
Some great hair in there,
Stay tuned.
You stopped me talking to show that.
Yeah. By the way, I wanted to say we'll let that ad lie there. You can make of it what you will. But I'm not going to Frankie and Johnny's, I'll tell you that. In America, they have a biased media problem as well. They're reporting of they've beatified Kamala Harris as if she's the greatest presidential candidate ever, whereas Donald Trump just gets real shit thrown at him all the time.
To be fair,
it is really not biased.
To be fair, Kevin, though, Donald Trump in a speech this week did say that they wanted to knock down all the buildings in Manhattan and then rebuild them without windows so that they could get around. They could get around the brick.
Time for a real break. What just happened?
He's mad as hell. It's Kevin O'Sullivan.
They are again. It is time now for a very popular feature, the complaints department or the praise department. This is when I say it every week, but I'm going to say it every week, so get used to it. Thank you very, very much, all of you, for the lovely messages that you send, even if you think I'm a which lots of you seem to, and especially if you don't like Simon, that's very good. Anyway, from all of our countries that watch, from America, from Australia, from Latvia, still can't work out the Latvian thing, and from Britain, of course, thank you very much for all your messages, and let's go through some of them now. Ladies first, Samara!
Ooh,
you thought I was going to say you, didn't you?
Linda has said Simon is a big buffoon. Love that.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Well, can't argue with that, can you?
All these people.
Simon is a big
It's so brilliant. All these people who tune into a debate show and then when we debate go, I don't like him, get him off.
Who said?
Linda.
Linda, you say Simon's a big buffoon. I'm going to take issue with you. He's not that big. What do you got, Simon?
Nemesis Cap 22 says, Kevin, you have a perfect team. It is a pleasure to see every week. Long time to you three. From France.
Oh, that's lovely.
Well, thank you.
Wow.
We can all Nemesis
Cap.
Nemesis Cap. I like your name as well. Thank you very much, Nemesis Cap. Samara.
Decal says, I disagree with almost all of Simon's opinions, but I have great respect for him because he comes in each week and takes so much abuse from Kevin.
That's what he's here for.
Yeah. Laura said, I challenge Kevin to allow the village idiot Simon to host the show. Let's see if the tables get turned on Kevin. We might see a new village idiot. Samara needs to referee. Thanks, Laura.
Oh, actually, you know, we should...
Actually, Samara hosting with us two.
I couldn't do that.
Actually, do you know what? We should maybe do that for a Christmas special. You in the chair. I think we'll do that.
Yeah, we will.
We'll do that.
Thanks,
I'm dreaming of a Christmas. Simon is going to host this show. Go on.
Don Davis says Simon is streaks ahead of his predecessor, but please don't ever replace Samara.
All right. There we go. Keep me in a job for another week.
That long?
Maybe. Alexander says, what's your deal with constantly grabbing your arm of the chair? You can't sit
Is that me? Is that to me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
It's very noticeable, going on from clasping your hands to grabbing the arm of the chair and a backhand clasping when talking.
So I talk like that, I go like this.
Just wondering why you can't sit
As you
still.
all know, when I speak, for some reason, I kind of do semaphore. These hands, they're a law unto themselves, so I apologise for them, but there's nothing I can do about it. I was filming a show with Mike Graham the other day and I hit him in the face. No, not before time. What do you got, Simon?
Jose Phoebus says, this Kevin guy is annoying. My goodness.
I don't like Simon's views, but I think he's a really nice man. That's from Compassion.
Oh, thanks, Compassion.
Yeah.
I think I will reluctantly admit there might be something in that. Well, I don't like him that much, but he's got likeable elements to his mostly appalling personality. Go on, what do you got?
Aussie Chick 48. Simon's ridiculous head shaking annoys me so much I have to click off as soon as he starts defending his girlfriend, Meghan. Even when the proof smacks him in the face, he refuses to see her for what she is. Aussie Chick 48, that must be you.
Yeah, that sounds like something I wrote last night when I was in a fit of rage.
So when I'm not really looking, you're sitting there going like this. Okay, Samara, you next.
Essie says, obviously Simon is only there to act as the devil's advocate, as he couldn't really believe most of the garbage he espouses.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I do believe it. I'm not devil's advocate.
That is true.
And I want to debate with people, not call them names.
Wait a second, let me get this straight. So the crap you come out with, you actually believe?
Yeah, I believe most of
Most of
what I say.
Not all of it, no.
Yeah,
not
I'm
all
about
of
to
it.
say, I believe most of what I can say when I can keep up with you, asking me question after question as I'm saying it.
Go on then, give us your next entry.
Delilah has said, the young girl is very intelligent. All right, thank you. Cannot say...
Young?
Yeah, as
the young girl.
As Kevin's revealed...
Don't say the young man about me, but I guess that's because I'm not young, yeah.
As Kevin has revealed, I am about 50 years old. There's basically a massive thing tying my skin back.
She's got a year for every facelift.
And then she says, cannot say that for the scruffy, unshaven idiot who wants to get rid of freedom of speech. I loved it when you told him to f*** off. All right.
Well, I do that about 20 times a show.
Erica Nell says, such a bad host. No manners. Don't give his co-host chances to speak.
Yeah, I know. Well, there you go.
Or finish speaking.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm going to have to interrupt you there with another bad ad.
Hey, I'm Scott Donahue of Foreign Motors Kia. You know, I heard you tried to buy a new car, a minivan, an SUV from someone other than me. Shame. So there I was, standing all alone by the telephone. I was waiting on your call, but you didn't call. You didn't call me at all. Got to be a shame. No, you hurt me.
That is it for another episode of our multinational show. What just happened? A big thank you to Samara Gill. A far less big thank you to Simon London, the village idiot. He'll be back next week, unfortunately. So will Samara, and you're going to be lumbered with me again. See you next week, same time, same place, for another edition of What Just Happened.